You might be wondering why Chisco Gaming, that's me, is on the Level Infinite stage at Gamescom, one of the biggest gaming conferences, if not the biggest gaming conference in the world, that had over 320,000 attendees last year. This is the story of how I connected with the makers of Age of Empires Mobile for this huge collaboration. But let's start at the beginning. Now, for those that don't know, Age of Empires Mobile is a new city-building war game that pulls from the iconic and storied history of the Age of Empires franchise. There are many elements you'll recognize, from the iconic and historically accurate design of the structures all the way down to using villagers as a core component of your city's development. Age of Empires Mobile gives an incredibly nostalgic feel from the original Age of Empires game, but there are some important differences. The reason Age of Empires Mobile sponsored me for this video and for the trip to Cologne, Germany for Gamescom is to help explain these differences so that people unfamiliar with the mobile city-building war game genre might give it a try. And just as a quick reminder, you can use my link down below in the description to pre-register for the game when it goes live on October 17th. But I think the main difference between playing Age of Empires versus playing Age of Empires Mobile is that the mobile version is both a collection and community game in a way that is differentiated profoundly from what you find in Age of Empires. Unlike a regular game of Age of Empires, which has a definitive start and finish, even the single-player campaign where you could save your progress, Age of Empires Mobile is running 24/7 around the clock. Your city will be progressing even when you're sleeping. This includes training troops, building buildings, and doing research. And when it comes to community and the community aspects of city-building war games, this is unparalleled. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert, you'll make friends because there is so much of the game that focuses on doing things with your alliance and community-based gameplay. You'll interact with hundreds of players in your alliance and kingdom as you build territory, capture objectives on the map, and work together towards establishing the king of the kingdom by capturing the imperial city in the very center of the map. The game even encourages you to take part in alliance-based Discord communities outside of the game because they realize how important those lines of communications will be for building a bond with your team. A part of the reason you form these meaningful relationships is because your city and your ally cities can be attacked 24/7, day or night, and this element of danger at the start of a new kingdom is genuinely exciting. Eventually, most kingdoms arrive in a state of prosperous peace, but leading up to that point, you never really know what's going to happen, and that only builds anticipation for the events that unfold next. Now, as we got closer to the Gamescom event, it was decided that we'd have a quiz with giveaways for the audience, and the makers of Age of Empires Mobile asked me to come up with a few questions that tap into Age of Empires Mobile knowledge and original Age of Empires lore. And I was told that we might not have time for all the questions, but I got to work cooking up a few bangers, and credit where credit is due, my friend the professor had a few recommendations, so here are the questions that I ultimately presented for review. And by the way, leave a comment with the number of these questions you know the answers for. The first question is, this unit is the backbone of every town in Age of Empires games and has a role in Age of Empires Mobile. What is that unit, and what are a few of the things that it can do in Age of Empires Mobile? The answer is, of course, villagers. They can operate the farm, the mill, the lumber camp, the quarry, the gold mine. They gather wood, stone, gold, berries, basically food. They can hunt. They accelerate building time. They accelerate training speed. They increase warehouse resource protection, and much more. Okay, question 2. What are the 4 types of troops in Age of Empires Mobile? And as a bonus, can you name a few that are the most popular? You probably would have guessed some of these troop types given that it's a medieval fighting game, but they are swordsmen, pikemen, archers, and cavalry. Now, from what I've heard, the warrior swordsman path is the easiest one where you can progress the hero. If you're going to invest more into the game, warrior pikemen might be a more powerful choice. They're still pretty easy to progress, but not as easy. This includes heroes like Richard, Leonidas, and Frederick. This, of course, is tip of the iceberg for the many different combinations in Age of Empires Mobile, so we won't go any further here. Let's go to question 3. The third question is, what civilizations are in Age of Empires Mobile, and which iconic civilizations would you like to see added next? You get extra credit on this question if you can name what the civilization bonuses are. The 4 civilizations currently in game are the Chinese, which give archer defense and training speed and wood production. French, which have swordsman defense and training speed and food production. Byzantine, which has cavalry defense and training speed and gold production. And the Romans, which have pikeman defense and training speed and stone production. Each civilization currently in the game is specializing in a different unit, and there are special units associated with each civ. Okay, question 4. There are multiple rarities of heroes in Age of Empires Mobile, but there's only one mythical hero. What is the one mythical hero in Age of Empires Mobile, and what other heroes might you like to see at the mythic tier? The one and only mythic hero in Age of Empires Mobile is King Arthur, and he is a beast. But we won't get into his skills now, that'll probably come in a later video. The final question I put in my quiz is, how do you become the king of the kingdom in Age of Empires Mobile, and what are some of the perks of being the king? The answer here is pretty straightforward. I probably already mentioned it earlier in this video. Your alliance must occupy the Imperial City in the center of the map, and then the alliance leader can appoint a king. You can appoint other officials, which provides buffs to those individuals. You can even jail your enemies, which applies debuffs via titles. But with the big day of the conference rapidly approaching, I pack my bags, I hit the road, and it's time to travel to Germany for Gamescom. All right, we're on the plane. Man, it's gonna be a long night. All right, it's the morning of the conference, and we are on our way to grab breakfast with the team. Really hyped to meet everybody. Let's go. The morning of the talk, I got to meet the Age of Empires Mobile team for brunch to do our final preparations for the talk. And even though we had over an hour to prep, the time went by incredibly fast. And by the way, the food at this brunch was really good. All right, we just met with the team, and we're on our way to the venue now, and we're gonna get set up to present. When we got to Gamescom, I'll be honest, everything was at a bigger scale than I'd imagined. The venue was packed, the displays were insane, and there was so much to see and do. The thing you don't realize about being on this stage at this venue with this many people is that it is so loud that quite literally you cannot hear yourself speak. You know you're saying things, and although the audience can hear it just fine, you can't hear anything. It's hard to hear the person standing right next to you. In fact, I could almost hear the presenters at other booths and stages better than the sound of my own voice. It's been a few days now since Gamescom, and reflecting back, I've got to say that the Gamescom experience was incredible. It was amazing to get to meet members of the Age of Empires Mobile team, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing the game at the global launch on October 17th. You can use my sponsored link down below in the description to pre-register for the game, which is a great way to make sure that you can get in on the action on day one. A huge thank you again to the makers of Age of Empires Mobile for sponsoring this video and my trip to Gamescom, and be on the lookout for more information in my Discord server, that's discord.gg/chiscool, about a potential huge group start. I really can tell that community is critical to the makers of Age of Empires Mobile, and that to me is the most important part of this style of game. Now, if you're looking for more information about Age of Empires Mobile, check out my videos that'll show up on screen here and here in just a second. They've got my initial reactions and initial playthroughs of the game from the regional launch. It's something you definitely want to check out if you're looking for more information, and I hope that you are, and use that link in the description to pre-register.